The city's skyline glittered under the night sky as luxury cars lined up outside the Grand Monarch Hotel, the venue for the most prestigious charity gala of the year. Inside, the ballroom was a vision of elegant crystal chandeliers cast a warm golden glow over tables draped in silk, while waiters in crisp white jackets moved gracefully between the guests. Everyone who was anyone in the world of wealth and influence was there, dressed in couture gowns and tailored suits. But all eyes turned when Amelia Johnson arrived. She wasn't born into privilege. She had built her empire from nothing, starting with a single small business and growing it into a global corporation worth billions. Tonight was supposed to be a defining moment for her. She was there to finalize a $5 billion partnership with the Sterling family, an old money dynasty whose influence stretched across industries. The deal would not only mark the largest in her career but also send a powerful message about diversity and progress in the business world. Amelia carried herself with quiet confidence, her navy blue gown flowing as she moved across the marble floor. She greeted other guests with grace, but inside, her heart beat with the excitement of the night ahead. She could already imagine the cameras flashing as she shook hands with the Sterlings, sealing a deal that would be talked about for years. For Amelia, this was more than business. It was a symbol of how far she had come. From the daughter of a single mother in a small neighborhood to one of the most powerful women in America. She didn't know yet that before the night was over, that same ballroom would become the stage for a shocking insult, and a decision that would cost the Sterlings everything. Amelia made her way through the glittering crowd, toward the long, polished oak table where the Sterling family sat. Laughter and polite conversation filled the air, but as she approached, a sudden shift in tone caught her ear. "Can you believe she's the one we're signing with?" one of the Sterling sons muttered, his voice dripping with disbelief. Another leaned in and, with a smirk, whispered just loud enough for others to hear, "I didn't know billionaires came in her color." A ripple of quiet laughter passed through a few nearby guests, their eyes flicking toward her with a mix of curiosity and condescension. The words hit like a slap, sharp and cold, yet Amelia's face remained calm, her lips curving into the same poised smile she had worn all evening. She had endured racism before, subtle looks, patronizing comments, even outright insults, but experiencing it here, in a room meant to celebrate achievement and charity, was a different kind of wound. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing on her, the unspoken challenge in their eyes, daring her to react. Instead, she took a slow breath and stepped forward, greeting each of them with the same professionalism she had prepared for all week. They offered stiff, rehearsed smiles, as though their earlier remarks had vanished into the air. Inside, her heart tightened, but her resolve only grew stronger. She reminded herself that her presence here wasn't just about signing a contract, was about representing every woman, every person of color, who had been told they didn't belong in places like this. She took her seat, her mind already shifting from hurt to strategy, unaware that before the night was over, their cruel laughter would cost them far more than they could imagine. Dinner unfolded in courses of fine quiz and truffle-infused soup, delicate lobster tail, and wine that sparkled like liquid rubies in crystal glasses. Conversation drifted around the table, polite and practiced, but Amelia felt a subtle distance in the air. The Sterling patriarch, William Sterling, a tall man with silver hair and an air of inherited power, leaned forward and began out the final details of the $5 billion deal. His voice carried authority, every word measured, as if the agreement was already a done deal. The contract lay neatly inside a leather folder, resting between them like the crown jewel of the evening. Everyone at the table seemed eager to see Amelia pick up the pen, sign her name, and cement the partnership that would dominate headlines by morning. On the surface, it was everything she had worked 4 years of late nights, relentless focus, and unshakable determination leading to this single moment. But as William spoke, Amelia's mind wandered back to the laughter, the whispers, and the smirks she had heard earlier. The bitterness of their words clung to her far more than the taste of the expensive wine in her glass. She thought of the young women she had mentored, of the countless messages she received from people who saw her as proof that they could rise above prejudice. If she signed this contract, she would be telling them that success meant swallowing insults for the sake of profit. Her fingers brushed the edge of the pen, but she didn't reach for it. Instead, she sat quietly, her expression unreadable, letting the Sterlings believe they still had her. Deep inside, however, a decision was already taking shape, one that would transform this dinner from a business victory into a public reckoning they would never forget. The moment had arrived. William Sterling, with a confident smile, slid the contract toward Amelia, as if presenting a crown to its rightful ruler. "All that's left is your signature," he said smoothly, expecting her to reach for the pen without hesitation. Around the table glasses clinked in anticipation, and the other guests leaned in, sensing they were about to witness history. But Amelia didn't move. Instead, she reached into her clutch and pulled out her phone. The light from the screen reflected in her eyes, as she scrolled to a contact labeled simply, Anderson Legal. With steady fingers, she pressed call. A hush fell over the table as everyone watched, confusion replacing their earlier arrogance. When her lawyer answered, Amelia's voice was calm but sharp enough to cut through the tension. "Anderson, cancel the Sterling deal. Effective immediately. Draft a statement for release tonight." The words seemed to echo in the silent room. William's face paled, his confident mask slipping into disbelief. "You can't be serious," he stammered. Amelia met his gaze with unwavering calm. "I'm serious about many things, respect being one of them. I will never sign with anyone who thinks my value ends where my skin begins." A few guests shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting between Amelia and the stunned Sterlings. Without raising her voice, she stood, adjusted her gown, and added, "This was never about the money, it was about principle. And I don't do business with people who don't understand that." The silence was deafening as she walked out, heels clicking against the marble floor, leaving behind the richest family in the room and a $5 billion deal that had just turned to dust by morning. Amelia's decision had become the headline of every major news outlet. Black billionaire walks away from $5 billion. Deal over racist remarks. Social media exploded with praise, her name trending worldwide as millions shared clips of her leaving the gala with unshakable grace. Hashtags like #RespectOverRiches and #Amelia Johnson became rallying cries. People called her a trailblazer, a queen, a living example that dignity could never be bought. Meanwhile, the Sterling family faced a storm they hadn't seen coming. Within days, their stock value plunged as investors fled, unwilling to associate with a name now synonymous with arrogance and prejudice. Several major corporations quietly cut ties, and the family's once flawless public image crumbled under the weight of public outrage. Amelia, however, remained unbothered. She spent the week meeting with new partners leaders who valued her expertise and character, not just her wealth. Within a month, she signed a deal even larger than the one she had walked away from, this time with a group that championed diversity and respect. When asked by a reporter if she regretted turning down the $5 billion, she smiled and said, "You can always earn more money. You can never buy back your self-respect." Her words were quoted across the globe, finding their way into speeches, classrooms, and business seminars. For Amelia, the gala had become more than just a night of insult. It was the night she proved that true power isn't measured by the size of your bank account, but by the strength of your principles. And as the Sterlings faded from the spotlight, Amelia's star only rose higher, a beacon for those who refused to trade dignity for dollars. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Subscribe to The Silent Side USA for more powerful and inspiring stories.